guys, today I want to take a look at a couple of utilities you can use to pull songs off of the web onto your computer and then pull some samples into Ableton Live, chop them up, and then we will pull them over to the Electribe, and I will probably bring those up in another video. So I have been collecting for a while a bunch of tunes. Every time I hear something on Spotify, which is my kind of MP3 player of choice, every time I hear something that I think would be good to sample, I've been sticking it in a playlist, and I actually haven't pulled up this playlist in a while until last night, and I started listening to it and found out this is actually a great method, because if you use Spotify's feature at the end of the playlist where it starts playing related songs, I was getting like all things that I would want to sample. So this has been a really cool list to have. So today we're going to look at something I found called NoteBurner, which is a Spotify music converter. And this pulls the songs out of your, it rips them from Spotify and it tags them nicely so that you can see them. The limitation of this unregistered version is that it will only do the first 3 minutes of things, but I'm looking at the list here, and there is probably only, there are 3 or 4 songs where that's going to be an issue, but we will still do it. And what you have to do here is share, copy a playlist link, not ever the URI code. I don't know what that's used for, but always copy playlist link. And we're going to go over to this, hit the plus. It has auto populated that based on the clipboard in the past, but we'll see what it does here. Okay. So it pulled up all the metadata of the songs that are in that playlist, and I will hit OK. I'm pretty sure that will start it off ripping, so I do want to go to the preferences first. This was just file, or the name preferences. The convert speed can be limited by a copy protection feature in Mac OS that they give you instructions on how to disable. I haven't done that. I don't think it'll be a problem if you do want to do it and rip at a higher speed if you really wanted to get through a lot of songs. But for this example, I'm not going to do it. The output quality, I do want 320, and I do kind of prefer an MP3. And this is the location it's going to rip to, which is totally fine. It can organize by artist, album. Maybe this is folder structures. Auto rename output file when exists, so that's if you're ripping it for the second time. Add a track number to the output file name. For this one, I'm not going to do that, but if you were doing whole albums, that would be handy. Okay, so now I'm going to hit OK. It's actually just loaded them into the window here and has shown me that it's going to make MP3s, and I'm going to hit convert. Trial mode limited to 3 minutes. Okay. This is the system integrity warning that you can read about how to turn this off. I'm going to keep it in 1x conversion. Now, from what I found, this actually is faster than 1x. The remaining time, like any status bar, can be kind of elusive, but it's ripping 3 minutes of this song and it says it's going to be done in 1 minute and 30. So that's closer to 2x, really. So anyway, another thing, a limitation that it has, and the reason we're not listening to anything on the system right now is I think it's ripping it through the sound card. So I did have to turn it asks you if it's okay to set your system output to default. So usually I would send that through my audio interface and grab that at the same time while we're doing this. But for this example, I'm not going to. So I'll show you another tool I use frequently for YouTube. Let's grab, for example, one of these songs that is over 3 minutes, because we know we're going to have an issue. This song has some really cool piano licks. Okay, 534. So I'm gonna open this up and copy the link, and then I go to FLVTO or FLV2 .biz, and I like this tool. It's very straightforward. It asks you every time if you want to download their tool, and I've never downloaded their tool, so I continue to online conversion. Gonna wanna block pop-ups. So it is converting. One limitation here is if you're doing a bunch of these, which is fine, you can open this in several tabs, but it will time out after it finishes this ripping process. It'll get to 100% and it'll say, click here to download the file. And if you don't click that link within probably, 5 or 10 minutes, it's gonna say, we dumped your rip. We didn't want to keep it on the server for any more time. So we're at 47% here, and just to see where NoteBurner's at, just wrapping up our first song. So maybe it did end up being closer to 1x. Okay, so we're done here. We download the file. So it's cool. It did. It grabbed it put the square album art in the file there, which is cool. This is the rip from FLVTO. Actually, I don't want to play this. Don't want to do that. Why do you continue to bother me about this? Anyone, leave in the comments what your biggest gripe with iTunes is, besides the fact that it has gotten worse every version that they've released for the last 10 years. So I just wanted to take a look at the info on this. Again, why, what view am I in, and why did it open into this? Can I just, yes, this is the view. Actually, I'll throw this in this video. I had to reinstall my system, so this iTunes is set up the default way when you start a new computer. But one of my colleagues was saying, oh yeah, the viewing is so bad. And I said, well, there are a couple tricks to make this go to what you remember iTunes looking like, much more functional. The first is show status bar. This turns on the screen at the bottom that tells you either the song that you have selected, how long it is, or the total playlist length of what you're about to say. So as well as the size, if you're moving MP3s to another device, that can be super useful. The other addition that my colleague really missed was list view checkboxes. This is the preferences field. So you turn that on and you get the checkboxes back that decide in a playlist whether or not a song is going to play, whether you want to skip that song, and that gives you a lot of control back. And then you can click the edit button up here by library, and you can decide what shows up here. If you want to eliminate genres, albums, maybe only use artist songs, recently added, that's something that I don't find useful. Music videos, downloaded. Hit done. This starts to look more like you're used to, and then you could just keep it in song mode if you wanted to take out artists. This is really taking you back to iTunes 4.2, which I think is like the golden age of iTunes. Just having song list, checkboxes, status bar at the bottom, really starts to give you the nostalgic feeling. So from here, we're going to go ahead and time lapse ahead until NoteBurner has finished ripping, and then we will do a quick A/B test to see what I think the sound is. Sound quality lines up to between Spotify and the Ripper, and then we will drag some songs into Ableton and look at cutting up a couple samples. So we got done with our conversion. I would say it went at about between 1x and 2x, definitely not any faster than double time. Pretty slow. And I came back to this one conversion failure, so that's interesting. It wasn't the first or last track, it was somewhere in the middle. So not sure if that's a different kind of copy protection or it just had some kind of hiccup in the middle. So that's pretty unclear. I'm not going to retry this right now, so it'll leave that in the queue. I did have a chance to listen to the file as it came out, and I'm reasonably impressed with the conversion quality. I would say it's, you know, obviously nothing's lossless, especially if you're coming off Spotify, but it is, it's definitely good enough quality for what we're doing today, and I think I'd like to continue to use this utility. So what I've done is I've just taken one of these samples and dragged it into Ableton Live. The Electribe works really well with Live. It actually can export your whole a whole pattern to an Ableton Live file, and it comes through in multi-track. Maybe we'll take a look at that one day. But right now I just want to look at how I would chop up this sample in order to get it into the Electribe. So this is a really good example because drums. So the first thing I want to do is turn off warp, because warp is great in Ableton Live and it has a lot of flexibility, but I want to just set a loop and then let the Electribe warp it. So here, so we're about here on the one. So for this, we don't have to be concerned with what the master tempo is, as long as we're not on warp. So if you click and drag down, or up or down, that will zoom you in. And I just want to get this at a zero crossing, is what they call this. If you start something here, when you loop it, you will hear a little a clip, or a snap, or a blip. Not a great sound. So what you want to do is find a spot where it is a zero crossing. It's at the kind of middle of a wave. So for example, pull this out and away. This one out to here. It's interesting what it's done here is inserted a fade. We don't want that. So likewise with this, actually, you can see the end here. Get in with more fidelity. We want to try to find kind of the same part of that wave. Okay. Keep that, the rest of that file for a little later. And then for this, and I would say that that beat has a little bit of everything in it. Okay, so we're going to export this. Normalize is just fine. I do like that. We want it to be 48 kilohertz wave, 16-bit. We'd like it to be mono, so you can go ahead and convert it to mono. That's going to be best for importing it. And render as loop we don't need. To be honest with you, I'm not 100% sure what that one will do. Okay, so let's take a look at the file that we downloaded from YouTube earlier, the Steely Dan tune. I believe this likewise has a cool piano sample at the beginning that I would like to snag. We can just turn off warp, that'll get us there faster, and yeah. So I almost think you take one stab, like, would be like that, that. And then this one, I'm going to turn on fades. I'm going to roll this off a little at the end just so that it, yeah, so that's a nice stab. So we'll take this, and as long as the top track is muted, it's not lit green, this is the only thing we're going to hear. Also, when you're exporting, you can just make a single selection if you want to select the length of this clip, or if we held shift and did this whole length of the song, we would export the entire length of that. So just having this selected, we export audio and video, normalize on, 4816, wave, convert to mono. This is going to be called the okay, so now we're going to pull these into the Electribe and we'll see what they. Okay, so now I'm going to just roll this back towards some stuff. Okay, so now we're going to flip into data utility, import sample. Put them in this user folder, chicken loop. And home at last. Okay. And I know I'm immediately going to want to go to sample edit and go to that chicken loop. Actually, we can just go to home at last and punch up the play level. Let me see if it saved that actually. Okay. And then we're going to roll it back to chicken loop. Punch up the play level. And then that is, we already know that's a perfect loop, so we can hit that on the time slice. Perfect. Okay, and right. Okay, and now we're going to assign those to our paths. I'm going to go and set our BPM back to about 90. Okay, so what that is it's set to play not forwards. Okay, and then we'll just assign to all, to hit the loop. Yeah, I can get some pretty cool gating effects actually. So that's just putting a little decay on it so that it rolls off the tails in between where it's where there's a little gap. Or maybe we'll just use it as a stab. But we'll put some of that delay on it. So I'm just going to show one more thing here. Brief demo, the master effects, which is part of the pattern somewhere in here. MFX type. So this is mod delay. But what I actually like is the, there's something called turntable vinyl break. You know. So that's pretty cool. Anyway, I wanted to show you guys mainly those ripping techniques, and I hope you enjoyed this video, and we'll see you on the next one.